All right. Well, I'll maybe count down. All right.
Let's do it.
Three, two, one. All right. Welcome back, everyone, again to It's Bigger Than Trading. We have another guest, another team member. You want to introduce yourself, Antonio?
Yeah, my name is Antonio Parks. I'm the director of operations for Teach.Trade. I've been trading for about 4 years, but I've actually been investing since I was like 13 or 14.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's been a good time. I'm from LA, very, very West Coast and proud of it.
Yes, he is.
Okay. Uh, as you've been in this space, and as you started investing at such a young age, right? How do you feel as though, and think maybe back to that time about how you understood money, how you grew up with money, what even led you to investing, and maybe even how maybe that we're going to lead to how that transition to where you are right now and how you think
Yeah,
about money.
absolutely. So, I mean, single mother.
Yep, I
And
know that.
yeah, for sure. I think at a very young age, my mother was very transparent with me. Like, hey, we're struggling right now. Hey,
Yep.
this isn't going well. Like, she was upfront with me about the amount of work that she had to put in to take care of me and my siblings.
Yep.
So in that, like, I made a promise to myself at 14 or 15, like, I'm gonna pay my mom back. That was the number one thing that I was trying to figure out. So at that age, I heard that people would do this. Like, that was what rich people did. So I just kind of did that, and I read the books. There was a book, I believe the gentleman's name is like Eric Wiley. He read like Investing for Dummies.
Okay.
So cool. I
Yes.
read that at like 14. I convinced my mom to help me sign up for an account, and my mom's didn't have that background, so we figured it out together. So that was cool. I bought a couple of stocks, something goofy. I didn't know what I was buying,
Okay.
and I didn't really stay in the space very long. But I remember getting older, and my older brother had sent me actually the EYL. He sent me the podcast, and he sent me the Thai Capital, like the link to buy the course. So we all ended up in the Thai Capital group. And at the time, I was stuck in Sri Lanka. I had
Wow.
been traveling, things like that. And it's funny because it sounds so cool. Like, it
Right.
sounds great. Like, oh man, you were stuck. And yeah, there were some great times. But I was on the complete opposite end of the world for my family. Like, I love my people.
This was
So
during the
this
pandemic.
was during the pandemic. So it was the thing, like many of us, that kept me sane.
Yeah.
I got to learn this new skill, and over there it's like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning when the market opened.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm staying up every night from like 2, 3 a.m. and then just try to nap during the day a little bit. But it was good. So yeah, first couple years for me in trading in particular were actually really bad. They were terrible. My first year, I lost $14,000 of money that I didn't have.
Wow.
Second year, I lost $9,000 again of money that I did not have. And in the midst of that, was also trying to start a business and make my way back home.
Right.
So it was a interesting journey for sure. But now I had to learn. I had to learn the parts of my personality that didn't go well with trading.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I am not a day trader.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, like we talked about, having that single mother,
Yes.
excellence is the bare minimum.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, getting into that space and realizing I couldn't start with excellence, I couldn't be significantly above average in that space at the beginning, it made it feel less accessible, and it made me take my losses to heart so much more.
Mm-hmm.
So then slowly learning how to trade spreads and to stop buying weekly options.
Right. Yeah.
Those are called portfolio drainers. Go ahead.
Oh, absolutely. The portfolio drainers. And now, I mean, we got 0 days. We were just talking about it. You know,
Right.
you have to learn where you fit within the space.
Right.
But I will say, even that time, like, I'm not upset about the money that I lost. That money made me a better investor.
So is that while it made you a better investor, was there more personal maybe idea and or thought process or everything for why it didn't affect you like as much in terms of how maybe your as you started where
Yeah.
it felt you took it very personal and everything, right?
Yeah.
For then this shift now, how does do you feel as though that sort of fomented there?
Short answer, I think I'm dope.
Yeah.
You know what I
You're
mean?
capable for real.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
that
just
really
comfortable
is the
with
thing.
yourself.
Yeah, I got to a point in life outside of trading, outside of running businesses, outside of whatever. I am dope, period. Not
Yep.
because I have money, not because I have a skill, not because of these other things. Just a human being in itself is capable, is amazing.
Right.
And that made it significantly easier to be in a space and just having community of folks. Like I saw people around me
Right.
doing it.
Yeah.
I was like, this
Important.
isn't a pipe dream. There are people, not just people around me doing it, people that look like me doing it.
Right.
And they are talking about it in a way where I feel included in the conversation. So
Right.
when I don't know something, I don't have to come pridefully into a conversation.
Right.
I can go, hey, I don't know this.
Right.
Can you help me with this? So it made it okay when I didn't know, which in turn makes it easier for you to pick up the information,
Or
to be able to
ask.
go through,
Right.
to learn, to practice, to be able to do it now. So it doesn't affect me as much now. One, because I've recouped,
Yeah.
not just the money side of it, but I've regained that confidence.
Yep.
And what I gained outside of it because of that loss, oh man, I would do
Right.
it again
Yeah.
for sure.
Facts.
Love it. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, there's a lot like I heard in there, especially in terms of through our conversation a lot of today and there are other topics we may have covered. While we mentioned losses, what Antonio definitely brought up that was interesting is starting trading and your first experience is loss, and it's because in a way your first experience can really define your opinion, your thoughts and
Yeah.
feelings
Yeah.
of
Absolutely.
the skill or anything. If you feel as though it's worth it and how you go about it, and I resonate a lot with the feelings of that experience where you start with something and you not feeling like you're not really good at it or that because especially in that growing up and coming to adolescence, getting to adulthood, I know personally from experience of wanting to do things right, wanting to, especially because of how much weight was carried with the ideas of getting to higher points of because of, and especially with everything that our parents worked hard for, like, and especially with our group and to think with in the context of coming from a lower income background or coming from being in this space, especially in the investing space, where being black, being people of color in this space, we are the minority, and I mean in many different forms in America and everything, but especially in this space that it feels as though it comes into that you have to work 5 times harder just to reach that one point of success or even to be included in the space. That when you start in the space and we have that access, especially of how much our families, ancestors, everyone worked hard and we got to this point and that we now received access, we now have the resources, and now we didn't figure out a way to make use with it, at least not initially, and it can feel really like, and that can affect your overall relationship with money, with your work, with everything, and so it's very interesting, and especially how we build outside of that and create more opportunities and have these honest conversations, as there's so many people going through this, Aman, like with how do you feel as though like when you think about maybe as you grew up or as you came into your current either field of job as well as trading, like how do you feel as though that your ideas of of money, about having to provide. How has that sort of came to be?
Yeah, I think it's like shifted extremely over the years. Like it's been gone through so many changes in terms of my relationship with it. To give you a perspective, like my parents, much like any other immigrant family, came here in the early '90s, and they had nothing to their name, so they kind of worked themselves up to provide for my family. At the time, it was them, and then me and my little sister. So it wasn't necessarily like that easy to sustain us, but my parents definitely made it through just through work and just through prior education and skills that they had picked up while growing up in India, and then they were able to come here and sort of make a name for themselves. And so that's a really great idea, but growing in that environment, it kind of shifted my, or not shifted, but it placed my relation to money in a very, very closed box, where in the sense that we pretty much just have to take money and save it because no one else is going to give us more money. We just have to
Right.
save it. Like this money is really precious to us and all that stuff. And I kind of like saw the burdens of it even when I was a kid. I would refrain from asking my parents for maybe fancier things, or I would maybe ask for this one thing. I wouldn't ask nothing for 6 months because I know they're trying to pay the bills. And, obviously I'm a kid and I can I don't have a full perspective, but I can figure out when I need a PS2 and when I don't. You understand? So like, that's like that was the decision making I was making when I was a kid. But but it's because my family had such a way about saving the money. Don't waste it.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of blessed because my parents were able to provide and be really selfless because they were able to save so much money that we were able to get what we needed: books, shoes, clothes,
Right.
all that stuff. So in a way, I'm grateful. But the thing is, that only lasts so long. It actually, that kind of mindset will sort of put you into a box. And the reason is because there's going to be a point where saving isn't the most efficient way to actually prepare yourself. There is a point where you need to use money as a tool to actually propel
Exactly.
yourself.
Right.
There's a time where you spent so much time and so much effort acquiring that money that you now need to exchange it for someone else's
else.
time or someone else's resources that is going to propel you. And so from my parents, I feel like I'm not trying to dig at them, but they never really got there. It's because they never really needed to, because
Right.
their job was to provide for us. So
Yep,
now
exactly.
my job is to actually sit here and understand that, damn, my parents sacrificed a lot for myself and my sister to prosper. So I have to have a different opportunity or a different relationship to money because I get a lot of money in different ways that they couldn't.
Right.
So because it comes to me, I have a way different perspective on it. I'm not necessarily incentivized to save it. I'm more so trying to incentivized to spend and try to have impact immediately because my parents actually already did all the saving for us.
Right.
Like
Yes.
I had the house, my parents provide for me. They drove us everywhere, so I had like pretty sustained childhood, and because
Right.
of that, I was able to then propel myself and worry about other things. And that's another thing as well, guys. Like a lot of times when you don't have money, your experiences and your problems, and also like the problem solving is essentially capped because you can't think about
Yeah.
being better at something, becoming a better artist, becoming a better at basketball, or like becoming even fit if you don't have the bare necessities
Yeah,
sort
make
of
sure
manage. Yeah.
Speaking of Mike.
Yeah. And so it's just like so I would say that over the time trading has widened my perspective, and I kind of have a thing where I don't want to have money or like be used for money. I want to like use the money myself. I
Right.
don't want to have the money make me. I got to make the money work
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah,
or something
make
like
the
that,
money work
right?
for you,
So
for sure.
that's the kind of perspective I've had. It's more so now it's just like a value exchange for me.
Right.
I perceive money as the value exchange. So I don't really necessarily say this is worth this is worth that. I more so look at it as what's it going to do for me, and then
Right.
that's how I make a decision.
Yeah.
I like the way you said that though. When you talk about like, okay, cool, my parents had this experience, then I have this experience. Like when we talk about a money story, one of the fun things that I had to learn, my mother did an amazing job. My grandmother did an amazing job. I get to start my story standing on their shoulders. I do
Right.
not start a brand new story.
Mm-hmm.
So in that, like even when you talk about taking time to make sure that you do get to be there for your fam, our stories start where theirs leaves off. Not to say that they are
Oh
done,
man,
they're
yes.
finishing, you
That
know
was
what I
heavy,
mean?
Yeah.
But it really is. It's something there is something to be said. Okay, cool. They do the work to save so you can have some. Then I do the work to invest so my child will have more.
Right.
So by the time my grandchild comes around, he'll have no idea the amount of work that it took my mother.
Right.
That he won't know what it's like to stand on her shoulders because his baseline will be greater than mine.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, facts. I similar like Amon. Like I had two parents in the house or whatnot, but two very different parent. Like as far as their relationship with money, my mother, she saved a lot, but she saved to her detriment. So she's 66 now and don't have a lot of experiences. But I know she wants to travel. I'm her child. Like I know you want to get out and do these things. So much so that and she I took her on her first cruise maybe like right before the pandemic, so like 5 years ago. But it's just like you've had this money and you've been with it. So it's the mindset, right? So that is something I have intentionally had to do in the past year, really. And that started with reading the book, The Psychology of Money, which definitely will have you looking at your parents' relationship with money and like literally how they moved. So my mom is scary. She don't take big risks, which I know contributed to the way I traded when I first started trading.
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
So that risk,
Yeah.
I even asked my mom, I even told her, I was like, Mom, you don't take risks. That's why you think what I'm doing is scary. And you don't understand it, right? And my dad, he does take risks. He did like start businesses, but my dad doesn't take the time to get the education piece, right?
Yeah.
He think he know it all. I love you, Daddy. But he think he know it all, and he's not, with that type of old school. So it's like you don't, because if you did, then we would be in a different place. Like it's just the proof is in the pudding. I ain't never seen you pick up a book about this. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So really understanding your parents' relationships with money, getting honest with yourself about how you're doing that. Like if you're not mindful and aware about it, like that's how you're functioning through life, right? Because that's where we get our foundation and those type of values, whether they're telling us or we're seeing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, a little like my mom, she saved a lot, and I have like money everywhere, like saved a lot. But now, as I've grown with the market has told me about myself, and I've learned that there's areas in my life that I need to make easier. So I can free up the space in my mind to be able to function as a regular human being. So, definitely. I just lost my train of thought. But yeah, that relationship with money is extremely important, whether you know it or not. Like you have to explore it if you want to be successful in this market.
Yeah, I also wanted to chime in. Like, I wanted to kind of give an example. You know, my dad, for example, he's one of the hardest workers I know, and he's kind of in the same spot as I think your mom, in the sense that they're very risk averse. And the reason is because my dad and me, at some point we made similar amount of money, and then I started making a little bit more than him, and then eventually I was just talking to him about it. He says, like, yo, it's really cool for you, but think about this, like, when I came here, I had to provide for you two kids and your mom. Like, there's no time for risk, you understand? There was no place for risk. So I said, well, that much I understand, because now if I had a kid, I wouldn't be spending all this stupid stuff I buy either, right? So it's also like having their scenario, because it totally warped my perspective, because then I realized, I said, damn, I have like, my dad worked so hard for his dollars and that's why he saved it. But then meanwhile, like, I got like guaranteed checks coming in like every week, you know? Like, no wonder I'm like this, you understand? So but you know, having that exposure, or like having both those experiences, it taught me a lot, and it taught me a lot about myself to actually look at where I was raised, or like, you know, in the environment I was in. So I think if people were to do some soul searching, and it doesn't have to be a bad thing. Don't watch this and flame your parents. Okay? Your parents are doing your best they can. And I'll tell you this, it becomes to a point where you're a kid and you become grown, and that means you have to be accountable. I know you guys hate that, but you know, like, kids got to be grown too and be accountable. So that's really what I wanted to just
it's very so interesting just how everything, I mean, most of our things and our values, how we see the world are, of course, it starts with how our childhood went, how we're parented. And most of the time, for whatever we have where with the parts of our parents that obviously we love them, and there's parts where we may not agree or just not align because
Right.
we are our own people, you know. But it comes to, and it's through this conversation definitely of understanding that, you know, most of the time they wanted the best for us, you know, and the only thing they know about what's best for us is through their life experience
Their
and what
exposure. Yeah.
they've seen happen to them or what they've seen
Absolutely.
happen
I mean,
to
yes.
other people, and what they through all of what they had and every single experience they had, and our lives are not just one pocket, you know. We're not just one thing. Like, all of us are filled with millions, billions of seconds of so many different things that we just go
Yep.
through on a regular day.
And it
that
impacts us all somehow.
exactly, and
Subconsciously.
and so, and especially as it pertains to money, paying bills, providing, contexts change often, and prices change often. Like, you know, society as a whole, and how we navigate through this social context, how we navigate through America, how we achieve the so-called American dream. You know, it's like trying to break down and figure out a puzzle,
Yes.
and it's those experiences that create that narrative, that those ideas about what we should do so that we can be here in this country, on this earth, that we can survive, how we can live comfortably, or at least if we aren't, how do we if you're a parent, how do you set that up so that your child can have a better experience, and hopefully that's the information and these values I instill in you can create that, you know. It's really like an interesting whole conversation,
Life is
ideas, and
interesting.
yeah, it is.
And what you'll
Like,
find out
really.
if you go deeper, you'll find out that like our experiences are not that far apart.
Oh,
and,
no.
Right.
And also the people before us, they have like direct influence.
Right.
Oh,
Their
yeah.
decisions have like direct impact on like how we were raised or some of our outcomes.
Yeah.
So
Right.
very interesting to you know, just kind of dig back. And but what the thing is, what's really important is that once you discover that and uncover that, it's really important for you to figure out that stuff and then make sure you don't repeat the stuff you don't want.
Right.
Exactly.
If I were to speak maybe personally about how my relationship with money has come to be as well, very similar to Antonio's story again, like growing up with a single mother, and that through our life experiences, it was always about, for her, how do I manage through whatever I'm dealing with personally? I have my whole humanhood and everything, and but also because I have the child I have to take care of and provide for. How do I, through all the information I gather, how do I provide to a better experience for my son? You know, and so there were many ways and experiences where, growing up, that through whatever optimism I had to see the hardships or just hard parts that we had to go through, you know, and had to deal with in terms of providing and you know, being able. I always understood that being in the school district that, you know, me and Amon went to, like, that wasn't easy. You know, that was you know, it was a very diverse area of different income backgrounds and everything, but it was still like you had to pay, and there were lots of richer folks
Kids
who
will
went
make it known
to
what-
our school.
You know where you came from, what neighborhood.
Like,
you
we
came from.
we saw people pull up to our school in Mercedes Benzes and
Teslas
Ferraris
before they got announced.
when
they
they
got
were just
produced.
16 years old, right? And I didn't have my first car until I was about 19 or anything, you know, and mine was a hand-me-down as well, you know. And but, you know, through all of growing up, it's like I had that understanding of like this was something that was real. To get money, it was something you really had to work hard for, and that in many ways sacrifice in some type of form, whatever form, was involved, and so through y'all had mentioned earlier in the conversation, like even like the understanding, like when you said that, okay, maybe not now, I need like a PS2, you know what I mean? Like, I think I started to understand that there were ways that, especially just wanting to, because I feel as though maybe my values of how I navigate life is just wanting to be better, attentive and listening and being present, such that because people need that. I think we
Oh
all
yeah.
need
Absolutely.
somebody to be present for, and it was especially for my mother, definitely. You know what I mean? But I feel as though like those areas were just being attentive to other people's causes, especially as whatever they're dealing with. And so with that, there were birthdays where I would get asked what I want for my birthday or what I want for Christmas. I'd be like, I'm good. I don't need
Yeah,
anything.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's okay.
It's very
And
aware.
because I would think about it. I'd think
Yeah.
about how much it made for those things. And I think that slowly made me think that some of those things, while life experience and doing hobbies and doing more is a part of life, but that there were more things that mattered to me about how I wanted to spend my time and how I wanted people to feel, you
Mhm.
know. And so I think when it came time, super fast forward to trading, and when we started trading and then what it became, that when we started trading, like, yeah, I wanted to make money, right? Because
Yeah.
I just saw the opportunity when the market crashed, or when it was when we foresaw it crashing because the NBA shut down and everything was closing down. We just knew that the market was going to fall, and we had just learned that you can make money on stocks
Yeah.
falling,
Yeah.
that's when it came. And I was like, okay, this is a moment where I feel as though I can make money. And then when I did, from the very first trade, it was just like that again, where it, like that aspect and motivation to make money was still there, but another thing just came up instantly because I just thought about how this could
Mhm.
provide and could change the ways that people could live and operate. And through what I was doing before when I wasn't making money was I was making art and I was making things for a purpose to
Yeah.
spread a message. And so now that when you have that opportunity to make money, it's like, wow, now that before I was just able to spread a message, but now I can directly impact because we know how much this matters for survival, for opportunity here in America.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And once we grew about that, once we grew through that, that became just something that we wanted to um, make happen. So like something very that I feel as though I carried for my whole life was that my great uncle Johnny, and he passed a few years ago, but what he used to always say whenever I would see him is, "Manners maketh man, not
Yes.
money."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Manners maketh man, not money. And
That's
I just feel as though that once
absolutely.
it really came and happened, that we learned this skill, we saw how powerful it was, we saw how it could
Yeah.
provide,
Yeah.
that I didn't care about money anymore.
Mhm.
I cared about how can this provide and do better for the people and make people feel better because they'd be in a better position to provide for themselves. And that could be something that brings all of us closer, unify all of us, because now we're not in survival anymore.
Mhm.
Now we're all built together, and because we have a whole community, a whole army of providers
Yeah.
that we're not just surviving anymore. We're fighting back,
Yeah.
and we're here.
Providing.
Hell yeah.
Beautiful. Here